Good morning. Hi, I'm Kristin Omdahl and welcome back to Yarn on the Beach. This is episode 204 and we're here live in Southwest Florida watching the sunrise over the buildings and the trees to the east. And this is the Gulf of Mexico behind me. Whoopsie! If you're joining me live, please say hello and let me know what you're crafting on this morning. And if you have any questions for me, please always feel welcome to ask them. If I can answer them live, I will. If not, we can always save it for a topic in another podcast in the morning. One way or the other, it always seems to work out. If you are watching the recorded version, please also feel welcome to say hello, as the those messages stay permanent and I have the ability to reply to those throughout the day as well, and I do. Doesn't look like we're seeing any live chat this morning, which is a little bit strange, but YouTube was acting a little quirky this morning. It wouldn't let me upload my thumbnail photo to the video either, so I'm wondering if there's something wrong with live chat. Maybe you guys can talk to each other still, but I'm not seeing any comments, so bummer. But we'll still stay, and if I think of stuff to talk about, I will. See, I had a couple of really great questions come in the last couple of days, and I said to myself, those would be great topics for Yarn on the Beach, and at the moment I don't recall what they were, but maybe as I continue knitting, one of them will come to me. Did have somebody have some questions about making one of my crochet chokers this week, and unfortunately they were upset because they made the choker to a size that they thought would fit. Then they starched it and it was too big and they wanted to know how to fix it. And unfortunately, I don't know if there's really a way to fix it once something's gotten larger like that. And what I suggested is that in the future, or in your next attempt at doing the choker, I would suggest to do a swatch of it, starch that one, because starch is still a liquid, and so how your yarn reacts to water is similar with the starch, I'm guessing, depending on how they starch, because I have no idea how they did that either, or what product they used. But whatever treatment you're going to do to yarn, it's a good idea to see how the yarn reacts to that to make sure it doesn't affect your gauge. So I was suggesting that to this person and they didn't understand what I was saying. So I thought it might be a good idea to talk about it here as well, because no matter what you're going to do with your project, no matter how you're going to use your project, or wash your project, or launder it, or whatever you're going to do to it, that is an important component in gauge. So if it's something that has to be fitted, and not everything we make needs to be fitted, so it's not always important. But if it's something that needs to be fitted, and around the neck, there's really little wiggle room in something that's going to fit around your neck. So however you're going to treat the yarn or the finished project, that is a really important component in determining your gauge. So whatever size hook or needle I use, whatever size yarn or specific yarn I use, whatever my personal tension is not always going to be exactly the same for you. So there's so many components to it. So again, all I can say is when you're going to make something that has to fit, it has to be a specific size when it's done, you really need to not only do a gauge swatch, but treat that gauge swatch the same way you're going to treat your finished project to make sure that the yarn reacts to whatever treatment that is as you expect it to. And if it doesn't, you adjust accordingly. So it is a really important topic. We talk about it with garments all the time, but even with things that need to be fitted like a choker, it's also really important. Honestly, it's important for a necklace too, right? Let's see, where was I? I'm on the row where you have to switch directions, so I did 2 rows of knit 2, purl 2, and now I have to do 2 rounds of purl 2, knit 2, and so I'm having to recognize my stitches and do the opposite while talking. Ah! All right. At this point I would say, does anybody have any questions? But there's no one here, boo. But let's let's figure this out, because whatever I talk about this morning, what I think would be really great is if when this goes to recording, please make sure that you write your questions there, because I will come back and reply to all of those throughout the day anyway. I always do that anyway. So we can still do the lessons and still do the Q&As. We just have to do it not in real time today. A second here, I'll show you how much progress I've made on my bag. I will probably finish this today. I started a super fun shawl last night too, and actually almost have it finished. It'll be finished today, but it's for a book, so I can't show you yet anyway. So what I did here, for anybody that hasn't seen it yet, so you know my project bags, right? The drawstring project bags, like this. They have the 2 drawstrings so that it can cinch tight and close. Here's the other side. I'm doing that a knit and crochet version in yarn. This is Be So Sporty Bling yarn in Sunrise 02 colorway. I've done a really cool and simple but interesting stitch pattern that does a wrap and turn on 2 stitches and then a plain knit 2 on the next 2, and then every 2 rounds we alternate the spot of that so it's offset. So pretty and simple. And then we did yarn over, knit 2 together eyelets right in this round so we can insert both of our drawstrings. I'll do 2 I-cord drawstrings for the knit version. And now for the top ruffly part of the bag, I'm doing a stitch pattern that's reversible, the same on both sides. So I'm doing a knit 2, purl 2, either basket weave or double moss stitch, however you want to call it. But I'm doing that for the top, so I'm almost ready to bind this off. Then I'll sew the bottom up, make my 2 drawstring I-cords, attach those, maybe add a tassel to the ends of those, and then it will be done. So super excited to get this one off the needles. What I think will be interesting is to replicate this stitch pattern in Tunisian crochet. I believe that that stitch pattern will lend itself to being very similar if I alternate Tunisian knit stitch with Tunisian simple stitch. So that is going to be my first attempt at replicating this in crochet. If it works, fantastic. If it doesn't, go back to the drawing board. I don't mind. So I'm working on, I think I'm working on 4 books simultaneously right now, which is super awesome. They're at different stages. So one book is in the hands of the editor with all of the garments at the editor's house right now. The second book is getting packaged up today to get sent to the editor. All the patterns are written and sized, all the garments are done, and they're ready for her to take a look at them. So that would be the second book. And both of those are similar in theme. Then the third book, I am about 85% finished of the first volume, and then that will be ready. Well, I've also done some pre-editing with 3 editors on that book to get their feedback on it, so that one's not quite as far along as the other 2, but super awesome and will be amazing when it's done. And oh, I take that back, then I have 2 others in the process. So I have 2 other books in the process, and it will be interesting at this point to see which one is done first, which I know that sounds kind of crazy, but they're totally different types of books, and so it will be interesting to see which one ends up being done first as far as the editing process and the photography and all that, because 2 of the books are going to be much more comprehensive when it comes to editing and photography, and the other 2 are going to be much simpler, and that will make so much more sense down the line when I can tell you more. Not trying to be a tease. Really like to tell you little bits about the back side of things. I think it's kind of fun to hear the behind the scenes. I know I like to hear behind the scenes of things that I like too. I think this is my last round before bind off, so that's exciting. And I think I'm going to bind off in pattern So in knitting, what that means is when you're binding off, you're going to bind off the stitches as you see them. So if you see a knit stitch, you knit that one. If you see a purl stitch, you purl that one, and then continue on with the bind off technique from there. And if anybody would like to see that as a video tutorial, please feel welcome to leave a comment today when the comments are available. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Would also love to hear more thoughts on the 2 questions that I asked about yesterday. I asked what people would like to see for more ideas for holiday handmade gifts, since the holiday, it is time to start thinking about holiday gifts, right? At least start thinking about what theme you want to go with this year, or what type of new things would you like to learn that could be easily replicated for gifts. I know I have lots of ideas already, but I was interested to hear what your thoughts were. And then I was also interested to hear what your thoughts are on your favorite things to make for a new baby. Or what kind of things you don't already know how to make that you would like me to teach you. So those are my 2 idea requests, so I would love to hear your thoughts on either one of those. We might even have time to do a mini tutorial on this today. I'll start showing you the bind off technique that I mentioned. I'll still do a blog post today too, showing all the stuff that I wore or talked about. As you can see, I have one of my shawl pins in my hair as a bun today. Also wearing the fine Madeline crochet earrings done in Be So Fine yarn. This is colorway Caribbean turquoise, because I thought it would match so beautifully with this Amazon top. This is one of those sheer kimono sleeve tops that ties in the front, but it has the really pretty pop of turquoise, like the Caribbean turquoise. So I thought I would match that, and then I matched the pops of raspberry with my lipstick. This is MAC color Flat Out Fabulous, which is one of my favorite retro matte colors. Retro matte colors of MAC, because it, I did it again. Because it literally stays on all day. The retro matte colors of MAC lipstick, once they go on, they do not come off until you take them off. You could drink anything. You could probably kiss anybody, but I'm not sure because I haven't tried that with it. But it does not come off until you take it off. Not sure if it lasts 24 hours, but I know for a fact it lasts over 12 hours, which is super cool. Don't put a gloss on top of it, because then that changes everything. But as long as you're okay with the matte finish on it, which is a drier, not shiny finish, it'll last as long as you want it to. Okay, so we finished our round, and I'm feeling pretty confident. It might even be too long, but it's okay. So our drawstring holes are here, and we've worked up to the top here. So now, as the stitches are presenting themselves on the next round, the first 2 stitches are presenting themselves as purl. So I'm going to put my yarn in the front and purl the first 2 stitches, which is, got to do 2 stitches to bind off one, right? And then I'll bind off the first stitch over the second stitch. Now the next stitch presents itself as knit. So I'm going to move my yarn to the back to knit that one and bind it off. The next stitch presents itself as a knit stitch, so we're going to knit that one and bind it off. Now the next stitch presents itself as a purl stitch, so we'll come back to yarn in the front, purl that stitch to bind off. The next stitch is a purl, so we'll purl it and bind off. Next stitch is a knit stitch, so we'll bring the yarn back to the back, knit that next stitch and bind off. So you can see this is pretty simple. It's very similar to a normal knit bind off. It's just that, or a purl bind off, but we're just going to change that direction depending on where the stitches are, how the stitches are presented, and it just gives a different little detailed finish. I'm so curious to hear if everybody else is seeing comments besides me today. It'd be so interesting to see what everybody else's experience was with the newest YouTube glitch. All I can say is no matter what YouTube throws at us, as long as we can go live, it's better than not going live. Remember that when we had problems going live for a couple months last year? That was, or no, it would have been this year. We haven't done this a year yet. I don't know, several months ago then. So at least we're still here. Oh, I see. Oh, there's 79 views and 13 thumbs up. Okay, so you all are here. So I'm happy to see that. Okay, awesome. Awesome, awesome. I think I'm going to cut it short though. Let's take a look around. So we've got a seagull out to the north of us. A few walkers, cleanup crew. That sweet older couple, they were holding hands as they walked down to the beach this morning. Really warmed my heart to see them. Oh, and there's our swimmer. Our swimmer's out there too. And we've got the big fireball in the sky. I think you saw Dolly the Wonder Wagon as well. Here's the beach to the south of us. We've got one walker and a little bit of cleanup crew. And our beautiful, beautiful ocean view. It's the Gulf of Mexico, but it's hard not to call it an ocean view. So beautiful. And so calm today too. Really beautiful. Love the colors. There's a lot of darker blue in the water this morning. And then the clouds reflecting on it are so pretty too. Lots of different blues in the sky also. As you go all the way up to the top, it ends up being a much deeper blue. That's one of my favorite colors in the world. The color the sky goes without the clouds. That's one of my favorite colors in the whole world. It's something about it. All right, well, let's take this last minute here to look out on our magnificent view and soak in the sounds of the waves, the colors of the scenery, and set our intentions for the day. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to spend a few minutes here with me today. I hope you enjoyed the sunrise, the sound of the waves, the beautiful scenery, chatting with me and my little tutorial. I hope you had a chance to chat with each other too. Hopefully whatever kink we have on not Facebook, on YouTube will be cleared up by tomorrow. If you have any questions or comments, please feel welcome to leave them in the comment section once the video goes to recorded, and then I'll have the ability to answer you from there. Let us make time to create, share, and inspire today and every day. I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye!